Hello and welcome to the Richard Arsenault podcast. I just released a new book as well as an Audible version of it, and also on Amazon you can find it. It's called You Mind. If you want to search it, just put my name in there, Richard Arsenault, You Mind. Exploring the fusion of mind, machine, and eternity. Today I'd like to talk about why I wrote this book and some of the topics in the book, and I'd like to start by just reading the back cover if I could. In You Mind, Richard Arsenault takes readers on an extraordinary exploration into the future of human consciousness, where artificial intelligence, brain-machine interfaces, and cloud-based minds are reshaping our very existence. Blending deeply personal reflections with cutting-edge science, philosophy, and technology, this book asks profound questions about identity, mortality, and the boundaries of human potential. So I take my perspective as a filmmaker, but also someone who's been working with AI, as well as working with individuals who have severe mental illness, and decided to create a book about the future and how we're going to really transform our technology, our lives, and our existence, perhaps even our immortal souls through AI. And that's really the basis of the book, is to talk about the fear of AI that will be taken away when you start to understand the future. AI is going to make life fairer, better, and more transparent. And when decisions are made with clarity, opportunities are distributed with fairness, and interactions are guided by genuine intent. So life will get better. The best parts of being human, connection, creativity, and genuine joy, are not going anywhere. But if anything, AI just might help us enjoy them a little more. Just so you know, all the animations, still images, and music in this podcast were custom created by me specifically for it. Pretty cool, right?
Pretty cool, right?
No wonder Hollywood's feeling a little nervous about AI.
No wonder Hollywood's feeling a little nervous about it.
That's where I'm getting a second degree in data science.
A second degree in data science.
The book covers a bunch of topics, but it talks about consciousness and machine interfaces. It explores how human consciousness could integrate with AI and cloud systems, potentially enabling remote experiences and expanded mental capabilities. Now, the book goes into great detail about the ability to possibly even use technology to expand the human species across the universe through avatars and through entanglement. It starts to point back to perhaps some of the technologies that we see floating in the air, the unexplained aerial phenomenon, could be related to other species across the universe having already got to this point. And I think that's a very interesting thing to think about. If you want to explain what's going on from a standpoint of UFOs and aliens and all this stuff, start to explain it by thinking about where we might be in the future with our current trajectory of technology, and it starts to make a lot more sense why they could be appearing as glowing orbs and all these other embodiments that we talk about. So the book goes into detail about that. It talks about one thing that's particularly interesting that I find is I've been doing a lot of study on the human brain and how it works, and it talks about the role of the hippocampus and amygdala in AI. So if we can understand emotional tagging and memory processing in the brain and how these mechanisms can be replicated in AI for improved emotional intelligence, what it means is that eventually machines will have emotions. In other words, when you go back and you think of a memory, the book talks about how your body will associate senses with that memory. For instance, if you witnessed a car crash, your memory of that car crash could be one of very negative emotions, but also a car crash could be emotionally remembered by someone else as sort of an event. Perhaps a car crash on a TV show could even be funny. These have memories that are associated with emotions. Now, if AI can start attaching emotions by creating an artificial hippocampus and amygdala, the function of the amygdala is emotional. The hippocampus is what takes the memory and converts it from short-term to long-term. It's kind of the distribution network. This book talks in great detail about how those could be then applied to machines so that you can actually have a machine, for instance, a personal caretaker, whether they're physically embodied or they're just a digital interface that can actually care about you emotionally. What happens when machines have feelings? How does that improve the machine experience, and how does that possibly help them to understand you more? And does it ultimately mean that we'll have to be sort of nice to our computers, or the computer could possibly turn a cold shoulder to us and treat us exactly the way a human would? This is all stuff that's discussed in the book, and I think it's interesting to consider emotions with artificial intelligence. Another topic that goes pretty deep is immortality and digital consciousness. It discusses just what it would be like to be immortal through a digital interface where your brain would be transferred perhaps into the cloud, perhaps your brain and your thoughts and your personality travel the universe and you're on another star system. At what point then would you evolve into almost an immortal being if you were housed in a cloud or a machine interface? And then what would happen? I mean, the first 100 years, perhaps you'd be going from planet to planet. But then after thousands of years, then would you start to expand to more of a level of a spiritual existence? And after 1,000,000 years of being immortal, by then, would you then be almost on the level of a supernatural being? In other words, your experiences would be more like that of an angel, observing and guiding. And, what happens after 100 million years of immortality? It talks about encouraging the early development of young people to be more capable of being receptive to machine interfaces, even without any sort of implants. Now, these things sound scary, but this is the future, and if it's scary, hopefully the book will alleviate your fears and explain what we're talking about here. What about the ethics of AI governance? What if AI is in charge either on a local level or even a global level? Will the different AIs cooperate with each other? What does that mean? Who trains that AI? How do we get the decision-making control fair? And what societal impact will AI have as it becomes integrated into decision-making systems? So wouldn't it be great if you had politicians and salespeople and even your friends, if you could flip a switch and find out whether they're telling the truth or not by the AI measuring their microexpressions on their face, perhaps even having a remote EEG or a near-infrared sensor detecting where the blood flow is in their brain, where the thought patterns are. AI can determine whether you're lying, and the idea of fake news will no longer be an issue. And the idea of people getting by in their entire life just telling lie after lie after lie, well, those people are going to be shit out of luck. So that's going to be kind of cool with AI, right? If you have your AI interfacing and observing your environment, AI which possibly will be initiated with you when you're born and continues straight through your life and learn and grow with you, the AI can literally whisper in your ear and tell you, that person over there, you recognized them from 2 weeks ago. You could go have a conversation with them. Or the AI could whisper to you to get away from a certain person because they're dangerous. And you could silently have someone, Jiminy Cricket, in your ear constantly telling you what to do. And that can either tell you through words or other haptic feedback systems. We talk about the red pill, blue pill concept of choosing your AI reality, meaning what level of AI do you want in your life 20 years from now? Do you want to be fully immersed? Do you want to have a headset on or even a brain implant to directly connect you with AI? Or would you rather be on the other end of the spectrum and be pure and have absolutely no interface with AI? Although that's going to be complicated because even electricity has AI involved in it now, the delivery and transmission of electrical power. It's going to be almost impossible to eliminate AI in your life if, for whatever reason, you want to do that. So the fear of AI is often an extension of the same fear that's accommodated with every revolutionary technology. People once rioted against industrial machinery, fearing it would steal jobs and destroy livelihoods. The Luddites smashed looms and set factories on fire, not because they hated the technology, but because they felt powerless against it. Today's Luddites are decrying AI and social media platforms run by the same algorithms that they claim to reject. Now, some people say that AI is just a thief, that it goes out there and it borrows from people's voices and their writing and their journals, and they are just stealing. But isn't that what we all do when we're learning something? I mean, would you say you're being a thief of Da Vinci? No, studying is not thievery. And I have found there's a lot of ignorance out there as far as what is fair to borrow, what isn't fair. We go a little bit into that. Intimacy and personal relationships. Well, If your AI is your best friend since you're a child, particularly if you can imagine a child with severe mental illness or a neurodevelopment disorder, AI will be watching them 24 hours a day in a non-invasive, security-protected way, so that when they do encounter problems, the AI can literally speak up and speak for that person, particularly a nonverbal person or someone who's having a lack of support for a mental illness or even depression. The AI can speak for them and be their champion. Unless you've become made immortal by the AI technology, at some point you're going to want to be accessible to future generations. And what if you could have, similar to Moana and that cave of ancestors, if you had your own cave of ancestors? The book talks about that. Meaning you could go back and you could ask your great-grandmother a question, and she could tell you about her Native American heritage. So it's possible that the AI could simulate what they would advise you. We can train this AI. When you're talking about training AI, that means the AI is learning who you are, what your thoughts are, what you look like, how you behave, so forth. But what happens if the AI is only trained on your mean Twitter tweets? Isn't that funny? On X. And funny, not in a good way, but if people are just simply expressing themselves as heinous monsters in social media, wouldn't it be interesting to see how the AI gets trained on them? Certainly the AI is going to know more about your subtle behaviors than even perhaps your own family does. But if the AI starts to train itself on everything you do to express yourself, what does that create? How about our first robots? The book talks about that more than likely to avoid something called the uncanny valley, where people get freaked out when they see a semi-real person who's not quite human but looks really human. It's called the uncanny valley. Anyways, the book talks about how pets may be our first AI companions, and the pet can be more than just a simulated dog that wags its tail, who you'll probably accept its appearance because it's going to be really dog-like, but it's not going to be as scary as a human would be walking into your bedroom in the middle of the night. But if you had an AI pet, the AI pet could come and warn you, hey, you left your tea kettle on. The AI pet could be your alarm clock. The AI pet could have all sorts of abilities to soothe you the way a real pet could, but also have the intelligence to be interfaced with your entire environment. So all those things and much more in my latest book called You Mind. You can find it on Amazon.com. Again, just type in You Mind, ? And then my name, Richard Arsenault. It is read by me for Audible if you'd like to listen to the audio version. I welcome you to share your ideas in the comments and open yourself up to discussion about the future of AI, exploring the fusion of mind, machine, and eternity. Thank you for watching.